Even one down the sideline, and he's got Kazmeir over the top. Big side, down the sideline. Touchdown. His signature move and his signature performance. Allen, big ball one more time. 58 yards this time.
You're listening to the Bruin Bible. This is your host, Will Decker, bringing you UCLA football content all throughout the year for LA Football Network.
What is up, Bruin Bible listeners? This is your host, Will Decker. We've got a very special sponsor to lead us off. We got BetOnline. BetOnline remains your number one source for all your baseball betting needs this season as it is officially opening day. Get analysis of every play, prop, and point at BetOnline. You'll find the latest odds, bracket contests, team matchups, and game trends at BetOnline as a whole. BetOnline is your baseball, basketball, football headquarters this season. Head to our website today and use our mobile device to sign up and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Be sure to use your promo code, BELIEVE, to receive your bonus pay. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now to the Bruin Bible. What is up, and welcome to the latest edition of the Bruin Bible. We have a different type of guest today, man. We usually do things on the football side of the things, as this is the LA Football Network, but this is the Bruin Bible first and foremost. We had to bring some UCLA royalty in the house. My main man, Josiah Johnson, a.k.a. King Josiah, one of the best Twitter follows when it comes to the NBA. With him posting all these movie quotes, different scenes and memes from all your favorite movies. But, man, this guy is so much more than that. He created his own television show called Chamberlain Heights. He was a writer on Collin in Black and White when it came to the Netflix documentary, a fantastic one at that. And we're just so honored to have him in the house. He was a former UCLA basketball player on top of all of that. My main man, Josiah, what's going on, dude? It's great to have you on the show.
What's up, brother? Appreciate you having me on. Go Bruins.
Go Bruins, man. We are so stoked to have you. Yeah, man, it's exciting times. I was hoping we can get it done this year. I think the Clark injury kind of hurt us in the long term. But I want to start this out with the late, great Chris Roberts. He unfortunately passed away this past week, and he was such a legend to UCLA fans, listening to broadcasts and, having a lot of their favorite moments narrated by Chris Roberts. And I know your pops worked with him a long time. I know you may have had a relationship with him. What does Chris Roberts mean to you and the UCLA faithful as a whole?
I mean, just a devastating loss for the Bruin family. When you talk about Chris Roberts, a.k.a. Bob Lapeer, for those who know him well, knew him by his government name. But Chris just, a tremendous guy, voice of the Bruins, voice of Bruin basketball, Bruin football, the voice of my youth. When I was younger, my dad was working with him and they were calling games. I would always turn the TV broadcast down, listen to the radio. It'd be a little delayed, but it'd be worth it. When you just think about all the amazing calls and exciting things that he got to do during his career, obviously the Yeah Baby resonates with me from that 95 championship team, which I was actually a ball boy on. So got to spend a lot of extensive time with Chris and my dad, going to pregame meals and hanging out and spending time on the road. But just a tremendous human being. I think the one thing about Chris, which, I think every Bruin can attest to, is just his amazing positivity. Every time you saw him, firm handshake, look in the eyes, always wished you well, no matter if the season was going well, season was going bad, always had some positive things to say. Just a tremendous broadcaster. Listen to him call games, the enthusiasm, the excitement. He was really just indicative and representative of what it means to be a Bruin and what it means to be a part of this whole Bruin family and Bruin culture, especially on the athletic side. And just a tremendous dude, man. I got to spend a lot of time with him throughout my years as a child, through college, graduating even later on in life, and just always just a bastion of positivity, bright smile on his face, was always happy to see you, always happy to talk some shop, and, just a tremendous loss. And, we have a family group chat with me, my dad, my brother, my other brothers, and when we had to drop that in there, it was a tough one, especially to see my dad's reaction. He hadn't found out yet, as I think Ben Bolsh, was the first person to post it on Twitter, so she just shared that information with him. But, just amazing guy, tremendous guy, just sad, praying for him and his family, and just wishing the rest of the family all the best in these tough times, and obviously offer my condolences and prayers. But Bruins lost a legend in Chris Roberts, just an amazing man, and I think his contributions to the Bruin sports and Bruin athletic programs will live on forever, live on in infamy, and just to be able to hear his voice on some of those calls, like I said, I think about that Yeah Baby call all the time. UCLA beat Missouri in the tournament in '95.
Ty Sedney, man.
Yeah, Ty Sedney, coast to coast. But, one of the just sheer, just like beautiful moments. A lot of times being a broadcaster, I kind of operate in that space now. You can't be affiliated with the team, but that's the great thing about being the home broadcast network. You really get to show your allegiance, your loyalty. You're always going to rock out with those Bruins, win, lose, or draw, and just try and be as positive as possible. But just thinking about, his voice and positivity, the Chris Roberts, and that will always just live inside my head, and just what amazing human being he was. So I'm sending prayers out to his family, and yeah, Bruins definitely lost a legend.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers out to the Roberts family. A huge loss for the UCLA fan base. And I want to pivot to something a little bit more positive after, the loss of our guy, Chris Roberts. You're a co-host with Gil's Arena show, and I think a lot of UCLA faithful, you guys must be pretty good friends, because the U of A and UCLA rivalry is very big within the Pac-12, man. How did this friendship come to be, and how did you guys link up to create one of the better shows out there on Underdog Fantasy going right now?
So the thing about Gil, Gil just a tremendous hooper, was a legend in the LA basketball scene, especially in the San Fernando Valley. Gil's actually a year older than me. First encounter with Gil, I was a sophomore at Crenshaw High School. Gil was, I think, a junior over at Grant. They played each other in the first round of the playoffs. I think Gil dropped like 40. Crenshaw notorious for a press we used to call Rover, full court press, that I've seen, give dudes just fits. Gil's breaking it, going coast to coast. And my first thing is obviously Grant's a small school, doesn't really have a strong basketball tradition. It's like, who is this dude right here? Just killing Crenshaw, going coast to coast for layups, dropping a 40-piece. They ended up losing the game, but he single-handedly kept the squad in the game and made it a lot closer than it should be. I think they still might have got smacked by 30, but traditionally in those Crenshaw days, that was a 70, 80-point loss. But got to, when I was at UCLA, again, Gil was a year older than me. I redshirted, so I think it would have been his sophomore year, my redshirt freshman year. I think he dropped like 32 on us one game, didn't score in the first half. A couple of guys on our team were jawing at him, proceeded to have 32 in the second half in overtime. But we got the dub, which was the most important thing. But been a big fan of Gil in his career, throughout his NBA career. And coincidentally, I live in the San Fernando Valley now. We ended up, living like 2 blocks away from each other. So I was, especially during kind of the height of the pandemic, when everybody's stuck at home, nothing to do, I would go on these jogs around the neighborhood, 3-4 mile jogs. And, oftentimes kind of see him pushing through in a different luxury automobile. We kind of always share a nod and a look. And a couple years ago, I was just kind of making my way on the sports entertainment side. But he was looking for a host for his show, No Chill, which we do with Fubo Sports. Was looking for a host. Me and him connected. We just kind of bonded pretty immediately. And I think, both of us are kind of easy guys, funny guys, love to keep the mood light, jokesters, pranksters, all that type of stuff. So to be able to connect with him and do the show No Chill that we do with Fubo Sports, also to be able to do the show Gil's Arena now that we're doing with Underdog Fantasy, just tremendous opportunity. Gil, a lot of people know Gil obviously for some certain transgressions in his career, and that's kind of the first thing people think about. But when you really, get to know Gil and get to just understand him as a basketball savant, basketball mind, how much he just consumes the game, loves the game, breaks down the game, and the lens that he has and the perspective that he has, is just a phenomenal human being. So I've just been super blessed and fortunate to be able to link up with him. Now we're going on, this is almost a 2-year anniversary from when we first started doing No Chill. We just launched Gil's Arena back in February. That show's going great, really dominating the basketball scene on the social and digital side. So just to be able to work with Gil, man, I'm so like just kind of pinch myself, man, because this is a guy, if you really love basketball, if you really love hoops, yeah. He's a 3-time All-NBA player, but Hibachi, just what he meant, Agent Zero, what he meant for those times coming up. So just to be able to work with him, 3-4 days a week, and it's very convenient. It's a 2-minute drive from my house, so it's literally the best job I've ever had.
Man, well, 2-minute drive, you could sell me on any job from that point, but you're happy to be talking ball all day. And the guy that Gilbert always reminds me of, because I was just kind of getting to my basketball fandom when he was kind of in that Wizards run, that like 07 to 09 run. Yeah. It's basically like you take Damian Lillard in a time machine and bring him back. At least that was his game to me. Those deep threes. He actually invented the turnaround three, in my opinion, before Steph did. You look at that game winner he hit where he turned around and hit it like that. So, man, Gilbert Arenas, an absolute stone cold killer on the basketball court. And anyone who's got beef with that, I mean, come see me on that front. Hey, I know we got to talk about UCLA and how you got there, man. Like, was it a shoo-in? Like, did you even have a choice in your family? Because your pops played there, was on some of the legendary Wooden teams. Your brother won a natty there. Was there like any other school to really consider with like going to play, or was it just like, nah, that's where I'm going to end up? Like,
I mean, obviously Growing up, I went to elementary school on UCLA's campus at a school called Corrine Seeds University Elementary School. So, even as a youth, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, after school, walk on campus, go play in the arcade. Back when they had the bowling alley, which I know for the old school Bruins, they remember those times. They had the arcade and bowling alley, go hang out in the coop, go sit in Poly Pavilion practices, summertime, working out with my dad and my brother, Drake Stadium, then go into the men's gym or Wooden Center. So, it was ingrained in me at a very early age. And, being a ball boy for several years in my brother's time there when he was in college, being a part of that 94, 95 national championship team, seeing a guy like Ed O'Bannon, who's still one of my favorite players to this day, and just what he meant to that team. It was hard not to get goosebumps, cleaning sweat off the court during those games, but just knowing a magical run was coming. So I always dreamed and envisioned it. Wasn't quite as highly touted as a recruit as my older brother or my dad. Coming out of high school, was a late bloomer. I was like 5'7" as a freshman. I didn't end up growing to my current height of 6'7", so I was like a junior, senior in high school. So had some other options, was pursuing Ivy League schools like Brown, Columbia, and a couple other schools that were recruiting me. Was actually, close to going to Xavier in Ohio. Skip Prosser, who amazing coach, passed away, back early in the 2000s. But amazing coach, ended up going to Wake Forest, coaching Chris Paul over there. But he was recruiting me kind of heavily. And I think about a guy like Austin Crozier, who went to Crossroads, ended up going to Providence, and created an NBA career for himself like that. So I had no desire whatsoever to go to Xavier and be that far away from family, but also felt like it might have given me an opportunity to kind of get away from everything and just kind of lock in on hoops. But UCLA, they came in, late in the game, started recruiting me, I think around like January, February, my senior year. Obviously, I knew Coach Lav and the coaching staff and had a relationship with all of them because they had coached my brother when he was there. So when that opportunity came, I'll never forget, I was on my recruiting visit. He offered me the scholarship. And it was, instant, immediate yes. Like, I'm sure it was the easiest recruit he ever got. So to be able to go to UCLA, follow in their footsteps, and just be on campus, like, there's no other campus, no other place I want to be. I know that campus like the back of my hand. Spent so many years there in my youth and in my teens and in my adult life. Like, there was no other place I wanted to go. So had some other options, but once UCLA came calling, it was a done deal.
Man, yeah, I mean, once you just kind of drive around Westwood, get the feel for it. I mean, there's no other option out there.
Yeah.
Man. Were you
once
at
they opened the In-N-Out, In-N-Out, you know what time it was. it was
You're great.
I miss
great.
Buck 50s though. Shout out to Buck 50s, the legend. Not quite it's tough now going back on campus and just remembering what it was, but seeing, even all the movie theaters we used to have there, the Whole Foods now. We used to hit that movie theater all the time. I forget what the back end side what it is now. All the different restaurants, eateries, like, Barney's Beanery. It was Madison's in my heyday. Truly fine establishment. A lot of legends used to come through there, like Bob Saget, Woody Harrelson, all those type of people. So it's tough walking around now. Even like I did a campus visit a couple years ago before the pandemic, and just seeing the dorms and what they're serving in the dorms and all these healthy eating options. Like, we didn't have any of that. You were hitting the cereal bar. You were making all types of combos with the chicken breast and kind of the staple food items they had there, and you just get elaborate with it. Like, I might go Mexican one day and make a nice quesadilla, but I'm doing everything kind of on my own. So to see the way that the campus has changed, campus life, it's a little like, it's not as turned up as it used to be back in the day, but still a lovely campus, still walking around, always brings back memories, just the nostalgia, the pageantry of being at UCLA.
Dude, of course. There's like no better place to go, at least on the West Coast, for my money. Were you at Crossroads at the same time as Baron Davis was? Because I know he went prior.
Yeah, so Baron's a few years older than me, but I was at Crossroads for junior high school, 7th, 8th grade. So BD was I think a 10th grade when I was a 7th grader. And we actually came up in the same AAU program with the Team K Swiss, coached by Thaddeus McGrew. So BD, and I always just had and that's another guy, like when you talk about just basketball players that deserve their flowers and what they mean to the city of LA and the basketball community just in general. Baron Davis is a guy who I remember being at Crossroads, and the stuff BD would do as a 10th grader in games was, most of the wild stuff. I also remember being at Crossroads and, a couple of guys, we had outdoor courts. There was a small school, it's in an alley. Now the school's expanded. Now they've got athletic facilities, all that stuff. We used to practice in a parking lot, in junior high. They had to move the cars out, and they had like a little full court in there. But we had another court like right on campus. He was out there messing around, dunking with some guys, ended up hurting his knee. But, remember just doing windmills and all the crazy stuff that he was able to do. But BD's like a big brother for me, a mentor, you know, obviously he left UCLA after 2 years. If he would have ended up staying through his senior year, which we all knew was not realistic, but I would have got the chance to play with him. But also got Earl Watson too, who him and Barron came in together as freshmen. Earl was a senior when I was a freshman. Another human being. You know, when people ask me who's the greatest leader that I've ever been around, Earl Watson easily. Like, you know, just what he meant to the UCLA basketball program. My redshirt year, I didn't get to play. He was a senior, but you know the victories that he willed us to, and just the team mentality and the dynamic and the way he was just a leader on and off the court, and just even what he's doing now, coaching with the Raptors, always just a great gentleman. So Barron, BD, I just think about Charles, Ed O'Bannon, just all the guys, George Zedek, even the guys that I got to see during my time, in my youth, and also when I was playing there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know your family was very close with John Wooden. And for somebody like myself, somebody that looks at UCLA lore, he is a legend in everybody's eyes in sports. It's not even just college basketball. He transcends sports in general with just how successful he was at UCLA, his pyramid for success, whatever it may be. You got to interact with him a lot growing up. Do you have any go-to John Wooden stories you tell your buddies when people ask about him? Because he's such a big-time figure in UCLA history.
Yeah, I mean, when you think with John Wooden, the greatest coach in the history of sports, I don't think anybody can debate that. What he meant to that program, the run that they went on, the 10 national championships. My dad was actually on the last national championship team in '75. But, I guess funniest story, Coach Wooden was a lot older by the time I got to UCLA. He would still come to practice occasionally, still come to games. And it was always just, obviously the goosebumps you would get when he would start talking and just thinking about, what he meant to but always just like a, super cool dude. Funny. I remember one time, redshirt year, I'm coming back from a broken foot. So I'm doing some drills on the side court. I'm dribbling 2 basketballs, kind of just working on my handle. He kind of just, matter of fact, he's like, I don't know why you dribble 2 basketballs. You only play with 1. All he said, kept it pushing, but we kind of both giggled and laughed a little bit. But he also just remember, being at games, him sitting right behind the bench and just kind of what that meant to the program. And, obviously devastating loss. Was also blessed and fortunate with my dad and my brother to be able to conduct Coach Wooden's last formal interview. We did, he was gracious with his time, let us interview him. We were doing a piece for the UCLA Black Alumni Association, and just to raise awareness and raise scholarships for their scholarship program. Told Coach Wooden about it, more than happy to let us come over to his condo in Encino. And to be able to do that interview, I was so nervous and scared. I had to put a mic on him, a live mic on him. And just, I don't want to, he was very frail and fragile at that point in his life. And I'm just like, look, I don't want to slip and hurt this dude or anything like that. How many people would be pissed off with me, but just to hear him reflect on his life, coaching guys like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was Lou Alcindor, obviously when he was at UCLA, the things that Kareem dealt with playing, and just, the perspective that Coach Wooden had on life, and the figure that he was for so many former players, coaches, and everybody who kind of touched him was in his circle. So to be, I don't take those things for granted. As I look back in life, I'm a little bit older now, gray hairs on my head, and when you're younger, people tell you to appreciate those things. You don't necessarily do it, but as you gain some perspective in life and you're able to reflect back on just what being able to interact and talk to and ask questions and just be in the presence of somebody who's a legend like John Wooden, those are things you really cherish.
Absolutely, man. John Wooden is UCLA. When you think of the sports fandom of, people like myself and everyone that's went there and who follows the basketball program. So shouts out to the Wooden family. You guys changed the game. When it comes to kind of your interest in movies and TV shows, I mean, I'm always seeing you post clips of The Wire, which for my money is one of the top 5 shows of all time.
Good man.
Different shows like that, man. Where did this come from? Because usually when I'm connecting with people just in life or at parties and stuff, it's like, oh, you like the same shit I like. You're watching Succession. That's my stuff. Let's talk about that. I'll talk for 10 minutes at a party about that. Where did your kind of love of movies and TV shows come from? Because you have such an extensive knowledge on that.
Well, it's crazy thing. My dad, a lot of people don't know, when he was at UCLA, he was a theater arts major. He was hosting shows on campus. Incredible writer, incredibly talented actor. Obviously, everybody knows White Man Can't Jump and Blue Chips. And I remember early on in the game, he was on the show LA Law, which I used to love, Corbin Burns, and he was in Major League. There was always just connections I make in life. I like this show because the dude from Major League is in it, things like that. But seeing him on the big screen TV, growing up in that world, but really for me, he was a major influence. But it's funny, man. So I was at UES for elementary school on UCLA's campus and had just such a dynamic student body base. So I actually ended up connecting with Jason Schwartzman, who was a year older than me. And during the time we would do film school. Guy by the name of Joe Lucero, who passed away, but Joe was like the camera guy, videographer, kind of multimedia guy at UES back in those days. And he would do a film school in the summertime. So I was like 3rd, 4th grade. We did it right at it was like a fake, like, I don't even like a small university, or they had some classrooms right off of Wilshire and Westwood. In the summertime, I would get dropped off and we literally just hang out there all day. A lot of times we'd go to Jason Schwartzman's house. Jason's mother is Talia Shire, who played Adrian in all the Rocky movies. So we'd be at his house just hanging out. His younger brother, Robert, obviously an accomplished musician, was in the band Rooney. But we was like 10 kids, 12 kids. He'd be writing scripts and we'd be acting in movies. So me and him literally is like I was in 3rd grade. He was in 4th grade. Did like a Lethal Weapon spoof where he was like the Mel Gibson character. I was the Danny Glover character, but literally a script he wrote by himself. Like, you know, he was professional on set. So just seeing it, being around it, my mom and dad growing up, my dad obviously played with the Clippers with Norm Nixon. Norm's married to Debbie Allen. Debbie was doing A Different World, Sinbad show. Obviously does like Grey's Anatomy and all types of crazy stuff now. But my mom was like an extra on that show. Went to elementary school with Norm's kids, Vivian and Norm Jr. So would go with them, you know, I think on Wednesdays or Thursdays, whenever they would tape A Different World, we'd get picked up from school in the carpool, go over to A Different World set. And, you know, I literally just spent hours there, but really getting to see behind the scenes, right? Not just in the studio audience, getting to walk around sets and meet actors and just kind of learn that side of it, read scripts. So always just kind of was fascinated, enamored by it. And growing up in LA, there's so much just access to the entertainment industry, you know, and just being a part of it. And you really start to learn and discover, everybody who watches, you know, shows, and you talk Succession, I just got into that now, literally midway through season 2, was kind of I was the same with Game of Thrones, was a little, you know, little hesitant on it, but ended up, you know, getting through like 6 seasons in like a month, then like timed it up just in time for season 7 and season 8 to watch those live. Succession, I don't think I'm going to catch it in time, I think, for the series finale, but just being enamored with quality television, good TV, bad TV. And the other thing that really, really helped that was my dad, when he was coming up playing with the Clippers, we were living in Bel Air, we were living a pretty good life. He had the satellite that literally got channels from all over the country. Like, you know, I mean, it was like huge ass satellite. So we were watching, we would like fake our friends out because he would get all the East Coast feeds of like NBC and these shows. So we'd watch shows 3 hours early. Friends would come over for the, you know, the West Coast viewing, and we would predict what would happen in the show, right? And they were like, "How'd you know that?" It's like, "Oh, I mean, I just know the game." But so for me, I just had a huge library, and you know, used to love going to movies as kids. Would walk around, you know, Westwood Village, Century City when they had the AMC 14, movie hopping, see 3-4 movies in a day, and that was our entertainment. When I was young, it was like, look, we go up to UCLA, hang out, work out, you know, run on the track, you know, do some basketball skill work, go hang out for a little bit till the pros come in and play around 3 o'clock. So from like 12 to 3, like I would go mash around Westwood, get a bite to eat, go check out a movie. So I've always just been enamored and fascinated with the entertainment side, and now to be able to work in it, like just feel super, super proud of it. And also to have this library of content just stuck in my head. You know, when you're with your friends, you're hanging out and you're just dropping movie lines and clips and, you know, all those amazing moments that you have throughout life. Like I think about, you know, The Wire. Wire came on when I was in college. And what I loved about HBO, they would show they would show the episode, and they would show next week's episode. Like you could get that on like on demand, and it would pop up like that night. So we would watch next week's episode, wait till that next week when it was supposed to premiere, watch it again, watch the next episode. So I was watching each episode of Wire like 2-3 times. So that's just a show that obviously David Simon, incredible creative, that truly resonated with me. So I'm able to now leverage that into this new world of digital media and social media, where I'm able to put these clips up and really find that there were so many people that were doing the exact same thing that I was doing. So it's been really cool and refreshing to see.
Bro, you were like single-handedly keeping alive The Wire too. So we got to give you respect on that, man, by just posting those clips. That's fucking awesome, dudes. We love
appreciate it. Wire, Gilligan's Island, fucking Small Wonder, just like random, like so much random shit. Charles in Charge, you know, Full House, the original ones, like shows, you know, TGIF, like that was like my childhood. Just watch these shows, consume them, Family Matters, Step by Step, you know what I mean? Just like, you know, Perfect Strangers, even way back in the early TGIF days, like, and just love, you know, Frasier, Cheers, just random shit too. Didn't really get too much into Seinfeld, respected Seinfeld and Friends and shows, but, you know, they weren't necessarily my lane, but I've gotten old to really appreciate just kind of what they've meant for the culture and what they mean to America.
Yeah, so you never got into Seinfeld. I never really was on that wave either. Are you a Curb guy though? Because I think you can be a Curb guy without being a Seinfeld. Because I love Curb. Like Curb is the greatest
Yeah.
thing ever.
I mean, Larry David, for my money, one of the funniest dudes. I love that type of humor, that brand, that quality. So, watched a lot of Curb early on as I've kind of gotten older in life and got a family now. I don't get to watch as much stuff as I would like to. But I think that's a great best part about being alive nowadays. So many different streamers and all these things that you can go back and just run through these things. Even something like Succession. I knew I'm gonna get into Succession at some point. Everybody was talking about it. It was kind of pissing me off. I would see the memes and I would see everybody talking about it online. I'm like, I don't know what this means, but this looks very intriguing. Then gave it a run, watched like the first episode, didn't make it all the way through. I was having like a tired day and wasn't fully locked in emotionally. Gave it another chance. Now I've ripped through 13, 14 episodes in the last 2 weeks. So,
Yeah, man, it's a hell of a show. And I've only got a few more questions for you. You've been so generous with your time to come on here, Josiah. You were a writer, like I mentioned earlier, Legends of Chamberlain Heights and the Collin in Black and White on Netflix. I'm somebody that writes scripts or at least has the outline of it, but I don't know what to do with it. And there's a lot of people at UCLA that are looking for advice, from writers, and they don't know where to go for it. What advice would you give to any young writers coming up that want to, script a show but don't know where to get started?
So, I mean, especially interesting now with the writer strike going on, and shout out to the Writers Guild and all the writers, and I'm a part of the Writers Guild. So obviously we just want what's fair. But when you look at just especially LA, Hollywood, and kind of that dream of wanting to be a writer, thousands and thousands and thousands, and there's more people than you could possibly imagine. You can go to any coffee shop out here, anywhere, and you're going to see people writing in scripts. So the thing I always try to suggest or advise people is make something, right? Like something that you can actually make, right? And a lot of times people get discouraged. They think, we live in such a great time now where there's so much prosumer equipment out there. You can have friends, buddies, call in favors where you can make a piece of content. It doesn't need to be perfect, doesn't need to be the greatest or worst thing ever, but what you will do is you'll learn every time that you do that. And now you get to take your script, which it's hard. Like literally, I've been in the game for years now. Even me trying to sell a script or sell an idea, still a pain in the ass. It never gets easier, obviously, till you get to that level where you're like an Ava DuVernay or, Shonda Rhimes or Lena or Kenya Barris, for the people that I look up to in that world. So it's even hard for, people who are actually full-time writers and get writers gigs. And in the writing, especially this is what the WJ is on strike for, writing right now is so fickle. Back in the day, when network was the rage, you were getting 20, 25 episode orders. Now those things have been condensed to 10 to 8 episodes. The rooms are shorter. People are trying to make more content, but it's so scarce and the job is so hard. So the main advice I would give is, look, write a short story, write something that's easy, that you're capable of actually making. And literally that's kind of been indicative of my career and my success in social media and what I've been able to do. Legends of Chamberlain Heights was created as a result of me and a couple buddies that played at UCLA. The conversations we used to have on the bench, but we went on to start a sports entertainment blog called Jersey Chaser. For us, it was just kind of athlete perspective, all the jokes and stuff that we would tell on the couch, kind of taking that into blog form. That blog ended up getting the attention of some guys who worked in the industry and literally led to us doing a show kind of on our experiences riding the bench at UCLA. So, there's no surefire way to do it. When people ask me how I did it, it was like, look, I was writing 8 to 10 articles a day on Jersey Chaser, wasn't making any money was working a full-time job when I was doing it. But that show all that work I did literally led to me having a TV show on Comedy Central. So it's not going to be an easy or long road. If it's going to be a long road, it's going to be a hard road. We started working on that project, I think 2009. The show didn't premiere till 2016. So just, that's 7 years. So think about that. People see the show on the air and, oh man, that's cool. It's like, tell me about it. So I started that show in 2009. So that means 7 years I had to sit here and think about, will this thing ever really happen? Go through all the different hoops, pitching Comedy Central, getting on order, writing a presentation pilot, writing an actual pilot, having to now send it to Las Vegas where they have 10 people watch the pilot to see if they're going to make this series, based on what their reactions are to it, to getting a green light to getting 2 seasons, first one being paired up with South Park. So the dream is possible. I would have never imagined to be able to do that, going from riding the bench at UCLA to having my own TV show on Comedy Central, and conversely, going from riding the bench at UCLA to be able to do a show with Colin Kaepernick and Netflix and Ava DuVernay and Michael Starberry, who was a showrunner on the show and also was a co-creator of Legends of Chamberlain Heights with myself and the other guys that worked on that show. So it's very possible, but the reality is you just write a great script, right? Even to get somebody to read that is so hard and difficult. and you have tons of friends and people who like you, right? So you have them read your script. Of course, they're going to tell you how much they loved it, and this is great. Now, if it's so great, put up that $2 million is going to take to make it. If it's that great, right? That's when you really find out how great your writing is. So in the interim time, while you're waiting for that, to get that big break, you can really create that. And I've done the same thing with social media by carving. I'm literally hosting a show with Gilbert Arenas as a result of the work and energy and efforts that I put on social to leverage my brand, build a following, understand just kind of the hacks of social and what makes good content and putting stuff out there. So it's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. Look, it's like a 1 in a billion chance it'll be easy. For some human beings out there, there's that 1 or 2 people that, it was easy and I went straight through. The reality is for most of us, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a grind. There's going to be a lot of times when you want to quit, a lot of times when, you second guess, question yourself. And the reality is best writers, you got to be able to take a step back. I'll go back and look at stuff I've written a few years ago. Like, goddamn, this is fucking terrible. Like, this is, I literally have to be honest with myself. Yeah. I thought it was amazing when I wrote it in the moment. Like, ooh, this is it. This is hot. A couple of years later, go back and read it. Like, damn, what was I thinking? I thought this was going to be good enough to do it. But conversely, you've seen so many people now who found success. You have so many tools available at your disposal, social media, YouTube, all these different platforms to be able to put content out there. And, I always talk about somebody like Issa Rae, who did Insecure with HBO. That was birthed out of a web series she did called Diaries of an Auto Black Girl. You go back and watch that web series, which if you search through the crevices of YouTube, it's still there. The audio wasn't that good. Camera shots were super shaky. But what she did have was great content, a vision, and you could see a show. And that's a beautiful part about Hollywood. That I can give you a cinematographer, I can give you an audio guy, I can give you all these things, but you got to really have that idea, that seed to really make that thing grow. So main thing I'll tell you guys, keep grinding, man, keep writing. If you really want to be a writer, write, as simple as that sounds, that's what it is. But ultimately it's not going to be an easy path. Like if you want to get into this world, understand that this shit is frustrating, it's hard. And look, I'm doing more stuff on the hosting side now. You got to have, backup options until you can actually go and make a full-time living doing the writing. Because, look, I did Legends. I did Collin in Black and White. I did another show called Cherish the Day. But those rooms, 4 or 5 months, you may not work again for another 6 to 12 to 18 months, just depending on what's going on. Conversely, you might get on a show that gets multiple seasons. You might be good to go. You might be working 9, 10 months a year, which is like heaven for any writer. But this is not, there's both ways. So in the interim time, you got to find other hustles, other ways to support yourself.
Yeah, and I got 2 final questions. You can answer them at the same time. We got to get some football in, so I just want to hear your thoughts on Chip Kelly and Dante Moore, this new 5-star quarterback coming in. And the last question, we got a ton of Lakers fans in here. I hate to admit to you, Josiah, I'm from Oakland, California. I'm a Warriors fan, so I got
good,
my
man.
Up. But does the Lakers have enough to get it done this year in 2023, going against the Nuggets already down 1-0? So what do you think of Chip and UCLA, and what do you think about the Lakers?
Look, I think, this has been something for me that's been, I want to say frustrating, but especially in this NIL world, UCLA is already the best school on the planet, right? We have a robust alumni base, some deep pockets, some very successful human beings who put those UCLA educations to work out in the real world and been able to generate a ton of income. There's no reason now, playing the Rose Bowl, no reason that we shouldn't have the most dominant college football program in the country that's able to compete with SEC schools, able to compete with all these kind of other schools out there. I love Chip Kelly. Was a big fan of his when he was at Oregon. Obviously, NFL didn't really pan out the way he wanted it to, but I love the fire and intensity that he's brought to UCLA. It's enjoyable to watch games now, go to games, the way these teams play. And in terms of Dante Moore, haven't got to see a ton of him. Know he's a 5-star guy. Looks like he's a big boy, man. And, that's especially just you need the dual threat guys to really get it done nowadays. And I think he's somebody that can really help, not only, just for what he's going to do now, but kind of bringing UCLA into the national spotlight. And shout out to Martin Jarmon, who's the athletic director, a good friend of mine, taking it to the Big Ten. Look, not a fan of Big Ten basketball, but hopefully they can, learn from LSU, learn from SC, how basketball is supposed to really be played. I don't want to see those 50-point grinders and all that other BS. But I think there's going to be something really magical and special about going to Michigan and Michigan State and Indiana and having all these kind of schools who were historically powerhouses, and now having UCLA, SC there. We don't got to go alone. We get to bring, our little brother USC in there with us to tag along. And in terms of you being a Warriors fan, prayers to you guys, talking a lot of shit before the series started. Now we didn't have what it takes to get it done. LeBron will do that to you. No KD, we were not worried. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, we
No,
look at Steph in that team.
I know. Yeah, it's tough.
When LeBron went up 3-1, man, I've never been more nervous just because I was like, damn, this is going to be a full circle moment. He's going to, fucking Steph's going to come back, do some crazy stuff. So when they won game 6, and it was like they pulled the starters with like 2 minutes left to go in the game. Lakers are only up 20, and this is crazy. Lakers are up 20 with like 2 minutes to go, and I'm still nervous. Like, what is Darvin Ham doing, man? Like, don't give these dudes any hope, any opportunity to come back. But I think, with this Nugget squad, Lakers had some Nuggets didn't play anywhere near as good as they're going to play. I think anybody who thinks that needs to just, didn't watch much of them this season. But what the Lakers showed me down 21, being able to cut that lead to 3 in the fourth quarter, being able to hopefully figure out a way to kind of neutralize Joker a little bit. Joker's still going to get his, of course, but neutralize it. But the Nuggets were hitting shots, man. Guys were playing at a super high level. The Lakers were too. I'm more concerned now going into game 2 with kind of all the energy that the Lakers exerted in the fourth quarter. That's tough to do that and not get a win, but these guys are pros. They started the season 2-10. We're not supposed to even be here. So, whatever it is, we got to, call this, they're playing with house money right now. What Darvin Ham's been able to do his rookie year. But, of course, made it to the Western Conference Finals. Like Forrest Gump said, made it this far, might as well keep on going. So let's keep on going and go ahead and win this chip.
Man, I knew you were going to end with a movie quote somehow. My man, Josiah, coming through, dude. Thank you so much. Really like Darvin Ham, actually. I think he did a great job coaching against Kerr this past series, man. I thought he did a really, really phenomenal job. Lakers, I mean, if it can't be us, I'll give you guys the baton. You guys got to win the whole thing now, so we'll let that happen.
How it goes.
Go Bruins, and any parting words. When can we catch you with Gil each and every week?
So Gil's Arena presented by Underdog Fantasy every Tuesday through Thursday on Gil's Arena YouTube page. Start at 11:30 p.m., 2:30 Eastern. Go for about 2 hours every day, man, talking all things pop culture, sports, basketball, life. You never know what we're really going to get into on that show, but, anybody who wants to come join, come support a Bruin. We got way too many Wildcats involved with the show, watching the show. We need the Bruins to balance it out. We need, real fans of a real program that we can actually respect, where you actually have to have, sufficient SATs and reasonable brain power to be able to get into the school. Like, we need y'all love and support. So we'll appreciate you having me on the show, man. Obviously, go Bruins always.
Man, yeah, appreciate you, Josiah. Bruin Bible, we are officially out. Is up, Bruin Bible listeners. We have another advertisement for you. We are so lucky to be sponsored by the great people at Athletic Greens. I started taking Athletic Greens specifically because I was lacking energy, lacking focus throughout the day, and needed some special pick-me-up ingredients to make things happen in my life. Athletic Greens has done just that. I've become absolutely addicted to the process. It has over 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source ingredients, probiotics, adaptogens to make your life easier by doing this during the day. I like to take it to start my mornings off. I like to do it before a workout. Makes you feel energized, focused, and just have a lot more energy throughout the day than I typically expected. Right now it's the time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every single day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/LAFB. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/LAFB to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Athletic Greens, a game changer when it comes to your health and your focus and your mindset.